it gives me joy to sit in the studio with a young, let's say prodigy. That's what I'm going to use. I kept saying young, black, and gifted. That's how I kept thinking of this particular person. But we were toying with where do we do this interview, and I'm like, nah, it has to be in the space that you create, because he exposes the space he creates to a lot of people, but it's fragmented, right? Because you just see the art pieces. I'm literally in the room, where all this work is produced, and he has built quite a group of collectors of his work. So I'm talking about none other than i.B.O.M.S, Jabari Reed, is how most of us know him here in St. Petersburg. Young, gifted black artist. But that's me. So now I'm going to say to him, I'm going to say, Jabari, if let's just say Basquiat was introducing you, if Basquiat, I don't know what, it came to me in that, when I was saying it came to me in that moment. If Basquiat was introducing you, how would Basquiat introduce you? What would you want us to know about you?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think about him a lot when I'm creating.
Wow.
It's in a way of almost like when you step into a role and you step into like taking up the mantle in a sense. And it's just like the way that he expresses his work and the way that he expresses himself. I'm starting to see a lot of similarities just living in this time and having that unhinged creation. So I would say he would introduce me as, I'd definitely say a student of the teachings of just how to get it out without being unapologetic about getting it out. So yeah.
Have you always been unapologetic, or do you feel that you've earned the right to be unapologetic at this stage?
It's starting to actually tighten up a little bit more. I used to be a little bit more reckless with like just imagery, just the things that I was trying to say. But it's almost like being like the difference between a toddler and a teenager. They're able to express what they're trying to say a little bit better once they get older. So I'm just starting to be a little bit more cognizant of what I'm showing and how I'm articulating what I'm feeling.
The messaging. So there's an evolution occurring, and there's a maturing that's a part of that evolution. I just want to point out, y'all, there is paint cans on the floor. There is paint stirrers. There is a mannequin on the wall. And there's a big open sign inside the space. So nobody outside the space. So is it open for you?
Yeah, it's I kind of use it as like that, like an omen. Sometimes like I'll be tripping over the cord, and like I'll normally be thinking something that is like a little bit negative, and then the open sign will go off, and I'm just like, oh, shit. I mean,
right. What's interesting is the piece you're doing has the following words. It says, and I'm going to read it the way I think it's read: sun rose. So it's not one word; it's two words. Sun rose, or it could be put together.
Yes.
But then what's interesting is the wall behind the painting has the message just on the painting. So it's interesting. It's kind of like when it's kind of your creative space to say, this is what I think I want to say. Is that what I want to say? So I'm going to write it on here and then I'll repeat it, which says, if I told you that a flower bloomed on a dark earth, would you trust it? What other ways were you going to say, would you trust it? Would you believe it?
Yeah. It was it's off of Kendrick Lamar's Poetic Justice song, and it's not what this says up here. It says, if I told you that a flower bloomed in a dark room, would you trust it?
Okay.
And it's I like the way he said that, and it's just like that concept of the rose growing through the concrete.
Okay,
like
got you. Yes.
But sunrose, I wanted to play off of like sunrise, but I couldn't figure out how I wanted to say it, what I wanted to articulate, but it's starting to come together now. So it's like the fallen sun rose. So the fallen sun is basically coming to terms with why I try to be such a better person now, because I've already had this inload of karma that I implanted on myself before I was consciously able to move my body the righteous ways. So it's like coming to terms with that, the darker self. And the showcase Ghetto Gods is just like this.
Is that the name of your show that's coming up?
Yeah, Ghetto Gods.
Ghetto Gods. Ghetto Gods. So plural.
Yes.
So there's multiple gods in the ghetto. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay, multiple gods and goddesses.
Yes, I do have goddesses in the showcase.
Like,
too.
wait a minute.
It started off with too many boys, and I was just like, my mom had said something about a movie. It wasn't even about my artwork. She was like, "Where are all the women at?" And I was just like,
right.
"Oh."
And it's so funny. I'm always asking where all the men at. Yes. So it's wise then for you to acknowledge there's a balance, in the masculine and the feminine, and to say, like, I want to make sure they're represented.
Yes.
So you're creating for a show, Ghetto Gods. That's a tough name. How did that come to be, the Ghetto Gods?
It's the title of this Earth Gang. They're a rap group. It's the title of one of their albums, and it's it made me think about how when they call us kings and queens, African Americans, it's like in terms of an endearment. And now that I'm starting to get, you say, like, more spiritually tapped in, it's starting to become words of endearment for people who are also like me, that it's not just a king thing, it's a spirit thing, and it goes through the dimensions, through time, and it's different levels like that. So showing the divinity that I see in my people is like, when I see like the people, like young guys with the wigs, it's just like extensions of nature that move around, and it's profound. So
yeah, and the reality is that, like, even for me as I grow, I remember my son showing me images of way back in Africa. These are traditional styles for Black men and Black women. So this is not something new. What do they say? Everything that goes around comes around, or it's not new. It's new for you for now, but it already was, already is, and already will be.
Correct.
So it's funny because I was thinking about my wardrobe and how I got to get rid of a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, you know what? There's probably a lot of young girls that want clothes that I wore in the 80s, because now that's what they're going to thrift stores to get. That somebody would look at it 10 years ago, like, now that's not cool. Now it's like, it's a returning trend. But I have found you to be more of a trendsetter. And then I noticed that within the art, there's always profound words in the art. Is that important to you, to spell out what other messages you're trying to portray in the artwork?
Yes. Just because sometimes I don't want to wait to get the message out, and sometimes the image comes to me as the word first.
Okay.
So
just like poets and other things. That's how when I was writing poetry, I would always get the title, and then I would create the entire piece around the title. So that's kind of this. And you so you have built quite a grouping of collectors of your work.
Yes.
Do you know who has the most pieces by you? Who is that collector?
Ooh. Oh, I forget his name, but
or the top 2 or 3. Who are the top 3 collectors of your work?
I'm gonna say the top 3. I would list Dimit. There's a guy that buys 3D gallery.
Okay.
I forget his name, but he has a lot of my like earlier pieces.
Okay.
He has at least like 12 to 13 pieces.
Oh wow.
And then my mom.
So your mom, because why? Because she had already been collecting your work when you were a student. Because you're a graduate of Gibbs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So
she was, all those pieces that were in shows back then, your mom still has those?
I have most of those.
Okay.
And it's been, I'm kind of bad about it, because I used to be kind of stingy about making the artwork for the moms. Because like once I got to a certain level, it was like, Mom, I gotta make money.
Right.
I can't just keep giving you all of my pieces.
Right.
So I got to a stage where I was able to learn how to sacrifice from myself back to my mom. So that was like, I have this piece for you. I'm making this piece for you. This piece is not even going to be sold. So
right.
an opportunity for somebody to get it.
Right.
So it's just like those learning stages, like giving back, learning how to give back.
Is she one of the inspirations?
Oh yeah.
Behind your work?
Oh yeah, always.
It was nice to see the two of you out on what looked like a date night last night.
Yeah.
That's why I had to take that photo of the two of you sitting there.
Yes.
So I'm like, this is the coolest thing. I guess to have a mom that's cool enough that you want to hang out with them.
Right.
And then to go to a place where, like if we're talking about, was it 90s music or 80s music, whatever it was. So you would think that's more her speed. She was having the time of her life.
She was.
And you were sitting back watching her, enjoying her have the time of her life.
Yes.
So how often do you guys get to do that?
Pretty often. It was just that night I didn't want to dance. I'm really shy, so I don't normally get up and dance unless I'm like,
okay,
oh, damn.
You have to be, okay, got you need some extra. I need nothing, as we know.
I know, it's such a blessing to be able to get out there and do it. So it's like when she's doing it, I'm more so just like analyzing everybody else, how they're receiving her. It's like the courage that she has to do it as well. It's kind of like, God, I'll learn how to do this one day. I want to get the hang of this.
Right.
So it's more so giving her the opportunity to come out and feel safe that she can be that person.
Right.
Somebody has her back.
Right.
Not let anything happen. So
what is your biggest fear?
Ooh.
Yeah. What is your biggest fear?
Of my righteous or the natural path that I have of it being something of, I wouldn't say malevolent or darker intent. So it's like that driving force that you have. It's like if that is your thing, that's your thing. That's what you're here to do. But the scary part is if this is supposed to be against the greater good of who I'm actually being. So like that's like my fear of like getting to the end. And it's like, yeah, you did all of this, but you did it for the wrong reasons. I'm just like, well, what the fuck?
Right.
So,
what are the right reasons? Do you think? Do you know?
I say whatever comes up during the moments, getting the message across.
Maybe what are the wrong reasons?
For trying to take control, for sure, or over situations, over people, and it's just, or just over events, is like acting like you have more power than you actually do in the real world, and it because it may bleed over, and you may start treating other people as you're the character, but you have to know how to separate the character from the actual person.
So are you talking about the character that continues to appear in your work?
Yeah.
Who is this character? We've seen them. Let's call them them. We've seen them appear like in this image right here that I'm looking at. The feet are forward moving. The hands are maybe forward looking, but in opposite directions. So it's kind of this idea of, but the heart is facing me, the feet facing away from me, the footsteps are walking away. And that's clearly the back of the pants that I'm looking at, which is attached to the bottom half. The top half, however, is all seeming to appear this way. Why the like the twisted? Why did you put the bottom half going forward, but then the top half? I'm going to say looking back only because of footsteps. It could be the mind is where the footsteps should be guided. I don't know.
It's a lot of it is by chance. So I have an idea of what I want to execute, and it's like my abilities will only take me to that level unless like some crazy spiritual boost or something, or I'm a little tipsy.
Right.
But most of it is just going with the flow, and it's like those things just naturally.
Okay, it evolves. Are you at the point where you feel that everything in your mind as you create, you're able to get all of it on canvas? Meaning, Or are you, because I know one of the biggest challenges for artists is knowing when something is complete. So how do you know when you've gotten out on canvas what you envisioned in your mind?
Mm. How do I know? Mm.
Yeah. Or do you find like I'm finished, but I'm always wanting to, I have to touch this up. I have to do this much more. How many pieces do you work on at one time even? I know some artists work on multiple pieces at one time.
This is, I would say, just from school when I went up to Jacksonville, we were taught how to disconnect from a piece, or just like having that eye to do it. So it's kind of like second nature. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint how I'm doing it at this point, because I've done it so much, and it's just it's a feeling. I'll normally probably hear something in a song, or just feel that it's time to move out of this hot space. It's time to evolve, because now it's getting to me. I'm starting to become too much like this person. So it's tricky relationship between the characters.
Well, that's what I was going to go into. You're making me feel almost as you know how when actors prepare for a role, they have to fully, so that that's what I felt like you were saying. And then they get so into it, like their family, their partners, everybody is like, man, it took him months to get out of that role. So for you, each art piece, a piece of you is in there, and you are present with it while you're creating it. So is there a reason why, even though I'm sitting here, I'm in your studio, the paint is out, and I said it's okay to keep painting, and you haven't? Do you feel like if you got into doing that, you wouldn't, like, you wanted to put your focus on this? What is it? Or you create in private?
I was hearing my mom in my head. It's like, that's rude. Don't you turn your back to people while you talking. So it was just like,
she puts it in you, and that's part of who you are, and that's like that's precious. It's precious to have that. You're a young man. Tell us about love. What is love?
It's
outside of the love with your mom, because clearly there's so much love there. Love. But what is love for you? Have you experienced it? How do you want to experience it?
I've experienced it multiple times. It's unique every time.
Okay.
And it's like people assume that it lasts forever, but I know it doesn't. So it's just each person has their own version of it, and it takes you through a path of life, and that path of life is what I envision as the love. It was something that was created. It was an atmosphere. So now it's time to move out of this plane of existence to the next one. And then it continues, and it's ones that I've just recently started to understand is spending time with my little cousins, younger boys.
Right.
And it's like having to teach them is like that type of love is different, because now I was like, oh shit, he's watching me do all of this.
Right.
I should be doing this.
Right.
So it's like learning those corrections just by teaching the next generation.
So what came to mind for me is, do you feel in any way that you've been here before? Yeah. Because I feel like, forget if you think you're not mature in other ways, but I feel like there's a level of maturity that I've always seen in you that in some ways could suggest that you may have, this is not your first time walking this sphere. Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah. Quite a bit. Probably more than I like to admit. But that's why I'm so cautious, because it's just like, I feel like I've done this before and I know not to do this again. And it's not anything that I did in this life.
Right.
It's just, I'm tired of this cycle. I'm tired of this cycle. So, having faith too is just...
what is faith?
I pray to what I call the Most High.
Okay.
And it's like a watchful eye in the sky. And like the spirit. Definitely, I don't give it a gender though. It's It's just all encompassing. Yeah.
In terms of achievements for you, like what was an achievement that you accomplished or that was bestowed on you that made you feel like good about, because being an artist and being a full-time artist, let's say it that way, right? Because some people do art as a hobby, some people didn't have the opportunity to put themselves all into it. It happens later in life.
Yes.
You're young and you have committed to this path. Tell me about a time when you felt good about your path because it was recognized. What was a recognition or an accolade that you received?
I don't know. The studio honors.
That was, yeah, right?
Yeah. That was out of the blue. I was like, what the freak?
Right,
oh, shoot.
Right.
That was definitely out of the blue. And it's like to see all of you there. And it's just like, whoa.
Right.
Okay.
People
That's
see I'm getting,
Yeah.
This is at, because sometimes, we talk about the importance of celebrating living artists, right? Because everybody wants to celebrate an artist when they're no longer here.
Yes.
It's why I asked about collectors, because so many collectors become new collectors if the person is no longer here, right? But when the person is here, when they could benefit from it, then, like people aren't thinking about how do I become a collector of this young full-time artist that therefore has expenses for a studio, for purchasing canvases, for living somewhere, for all the other expenses that life has. So studio honors, anything else that you could think of that makes me like, dang, that was nice.
The city bus. I thought that was pretty
dope.
I thought that was pretty dope. Yeah. Because that was just that was the next level. I was just like, I could do planes.
Right.
I could rap a plane.
So let me speak to that. So we not only know each other through the art world, but then me having this youth farm and being able to say, oh, who's a relatable artist for young people, and then you coming in, and that was amazing how you unfolded that process of having the teens create fruits and vegetables that they wanted that they could identify with, that looks like them, and then you took that and elevated it. So I mean, who could forget Darian the banana head? So like the banana head, and like all these images that so that we can have something that the community could look at, because now it's a mural that's the backdrop for the farm.
Yes.
So and then now I was going to the airport to pick up my sister the other day, and as I'm going to the airport, I look up and there's the bus. And I'm like, shoot. Oh my God, on I-275 going north, and I'm like, wow, like we did that. You're right. That's pretty dope. That's really normally it's not that. So that is a good moment, and just the feeling that it gave to the teens to felt like, yep. Because I remember, who was it? Somebody said, oh, I have more curls than that. I want more curls. Like on their image when you were doing it on the wall.
Which vegetable was it?
But I just remember like them somehow feeling transformed into like characters.
Yes.
And now their character likeness is a produce, which is like pretty incredible.
Thank you.
So I could appreciate that being a moment of joy, because plus when the bus was unveiled, I mean, I swear it was like y'all had a family reunion at the farm.
Oh my God.
Y'all showed up deep with it. Everybody had specialty shirts. I don't think I ever got one. The family all had specialty shirts for the unveiling of the PSTA bus. Shout out to PSTA. Shout out to the Arts Alliance for making that happen.
Thank
you. I appreciate that. But I have to ask, like, not what's next for you, but what's something you've always wanted to do? Like, did you always know you wanted to be an artist?
Not in this capacity.
Mm.
That only happened like during, like once I graduated. Actually, 11th to 12th grade.
Okay.
There was another artist in Los Angeles named Skylar Gray, and it's like seeing him. He was another young black artist too. He was around the same age, around like 16. It was like selling his pieces for like $30,000.
Oh wow!
It's just like holy shit.
So you had to have thought, I either need to move to Los Angeles, or I need to
or I need to get on
different market. Yeah.
So that's really what sparked the enthusiasm of that.
That it could happen.
Yeah.
I don't have to now switch out and become a doctor or a lawyer.
Right.
Or I could be an artist, and an artist could be enough.
Yes.
Would you still create work if no one was buying it?
Oh yeah. It's kind of in tune in there. It relieves a remedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's part of you. It's therapeutic for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I noticed you create late at night. You have a discipline about creating. Most artists are not that disciplined, and I feel like, do you set some kind of schedule for yourself, or you just every waking possible moment you try to create?
Yeah, I just know, just like from experience, it's either go out early before you can reach that full potential, or you hit the full potential and it starts to dissipate. Yeah. So it's like, I'm gonna get out as fast as I can, as soon before anything crazy happens.
Okay.
So it's just knowing that inevitable is gonna come is what. Why not now? Because if I don't ever do it, it's not gonna. The idea isn't gonna be shown because it's mine.
Right. Because see, this is what I talk to young people about. When I say there's only one you, like, listen to what I'm telling you. There's no one else like you. And even if, like, I have twins that have worked with me, and it's like, but they're different. So your thoughts are different. Your prints are different. I don't care how much alike you are. So I'm always talking to young people about, they're always trying to emulate someone else. And as if they're afraid of their current lived experience being worthy of, the music, worthy of, talk about that. Because what you're doing is some good stuff. Why are you so determined to highlight a lifestyle that is not yours? Highlight because only you are living this life. But it's a hard message to convey when you have, NBA Youngboy?
Yeah.
It's like, that's all I hear. NBA Young, Miss Carla. But listen to this song by NBA Youngboy. I'm like, what?
It's like, you're not
and I said,
like that.
And I promise you, I sent a message to him on Instagram. And they're like, he's not going to come here. Plus, he's on house arrest. I'm like, what? What? They're like, he's in Utah. I'm like, stop. Just stop. Let's move. Let's move his train.
You couldn't handle it.
I can't. I try to be, what do you call it? Understanding and accepting, but I recognize my role is also shaping and molding and helping to reinforce like the uniqueness in every person. So I value that you're saying, like, there's no one else that's going to do what you have in here, because we haven't discovered AI doesn't go into you and pull it out. So you have to put,
I hope not.
Right. You have to say, these two colors and these three colors. It's like I tell people, I don't care how good of a copy is, it's still a copy.
Yeah. Yes.
When it's held next to the original, it is clear that it's a copy. Because the colors that an artist can create by blending, some of these colors just simply do not exist. So the machine don't know what to do when it sees it. It does the next closest thing, but it's not the thing. How many pieces do you have to create for this show?
I already have 27. I think it was only supposed to be 16 pieces, but I couldn't cap it. I just kept going. So, and the pieces started to get better. So and you said that to me somewhat. You said that first of all, what made you decide that I want to do a show? I want to do it at Studio 620, and I want it to happen now. It was just the support that the studio has shown me. Is just like, it was kind of like a no-brainer. It's like I either go back to where I've already shown, or I go to somewhere new and honor the people who are still honoring me. And it's like throughout that process, the interview that I did with Bob, the studio honors, and then just showing up at the showcases is a pretty dope space.
Yes.
But, and then he was saying that he was going to be retiring soon, so I was like, I at least want to have a showcase there while
he is still the creative director.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's what I mean by maturing, because even that thought process, most people wouldn't even tie all those things together to say, well, you know, this is what it's almost, and in a way, it's kind of paying tribute, you know, to him for what he has done for the entire community.
Yes.
You know, this man has come to our city and has, you know, and embodies kind of this approach of that I do not embody. The answer is always yes. Let me tell y'all, look, my belief is no is one of my responses, deal with it. But he literally works to find a way to yes. And you would think that would be overwhelming, but that's what a community space should be, to be able to create a space where, because somebody got to tell you yes, because we hear a lot of no's. So it's good to see that your maturity says that's something I want to celebrate. I want to put my work there. I want to do it while he's there.
Yes.
So that has to feel special to him, because it's funny, because when he kept telling me the date, I was like, I have that date on my calendar, there's something else happening there. He was like, no, this is what's going to be. I was like, no, but I'm telling you that date is on my calendar. That's how I knew the date so well. August 11th. August 11th.
What's
Ghetto, isn't that your show? August 11th.
Oh yeah, I was talking about
what was there, what was happening before?
Yeah.
We will not say. I'll tell you. Okay. I'll tell you off air. August 11th is your show, and then what? What's next?
Oh yeah, the rest of the Creative Pinellas grant that I got accepted in the Professional Artist grant.
Okay.
So it'll still be going on, I believe, till September. So there'll be other opportunities for like just showing up at other artist showcases, like me going with them. And it's like getting more blog posts done. So I have to tighten up on the blog posts.
Okay. So you are mentoring an artist, or you're what is the grant for?
Oh,
shout out to Barbara Sinclair, by the way.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yes, Barbara, we will miss you.
It was
big shoes to fill.
Who's taking
Barbara? I don't know. I don't know. They're going to be in search of. Yeah, but we love Barbara Sinclair.
Most definitely.
So what is the grant for?
The money just went towards just your professional art career. They wanted to know what you're doing throughout the grant process. So that's pretty much what the blog post is about. It's just telling them about the day-to-day things, describing some of the pieces, how I get the inspiration from the city. And,
from where you, right. Because that's a cool thing. You have, I see your bike here that I recognize, but now you're on the scooter. You're zipping around the city.
Yeah.
Right. Because I said, I forgot what day it was. I'm on 16th going north, and there you were zipping by on the trail. So you are connected. So like, you're like, nope, this is my connectivity. Thank you for staying off the streets as much as possible.
Oh yeah, it's dangerous.
Please, will people just use the trail, please? And I don't even think motorized vehicles are allowed on the trail. Really?
They're not. No, they're not.
Okay, bad car.
And like dirt bikes. Like, oh, wow.
Like, but I mean, really, we don't have a true metro system. So, like, I rode the bus in 2019. I had to ride the bus. It took longer to get to where I had to go on the bus than the time that I was able to spend where I went. Because I was taking a group of teens, and I'm like, why does it take so long to do this? It's ridiculous. Because it's the frequency just isn't there, or at least it wasn't there at that time. I don't know what it is now. So you've been in this space, not necessarily this room, but this space at the Warehouse Arts District for how many years now?
I think 4.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it's been 4 years. And this is your second studio.
Yeah.
Is this one larger
upstairs.
than the previous one?
Yeah. The previous one was like half the size. I look at pictures of it now. It's like, how is that?
How did you make that
I'm
work?
Look at this space too, like that.
Right. You're always busting out of a space, but it's good to be able to, have continuity, stay in a space. Mm-hmm. Do you have visions of wanting your own building, your own gallery, your own whatever? What are those visions like?
I'd like to have like this normal house, but inside would be set up like an art studio. Wouldn't be a traditional house, but I want to have a backyard because I want to have bunnies in my backyard.
You want to have what?
Like a bunny sanctuary.
Like, a bunny, like rabbits?
Yeah, like wild rabbits.
Okay.
I probably have to put it.
But none that are being stewed?
No. If times get hard, you never know. Hey.
Why? Why bunnies? I've never seen bunnies in your paintings or anything. So where's this bunny?
I used them a few times.
Okay, so where's bunnies coming from?
I started to see them more around the city. Actually, down there at the pier, it's like
really?
It's like brown rabbits all over the pier. Yes, they're everywhere.
People have been talking to me about them, but I haven't seen them.
They're so adorable. But I probably have to get a net because the birds are probably going to want to eat my rabbits.
Yeah,
so
you could do that. There's also string across, things like that you do at restaurants to prevent birds from coming down. But interesting, a rabbit sanctuary in the backyard. Sounds like you're going to be living in historic Kenwood because, right? They've gotten the ordinance to be able to have artist space in a residential community.
Ooh,
I don't know where else has that. I think that Old Southeast was trying to get that as well. I don't know if that ever went through, but I'm just letting you know where you should be looking.
Thank you.
Right. That community is set for that. So of the artists that we currently have in our city, are there some in particular that you admire and respect? And if so, why?
More recent, I say Siobhan, Erica Sutherland too.
Okay.
Those two are pretty dope.
Okay.
Just like branching out to different mediums.
So Siobhan Monique is a musician.
Yes.
She gives the vibe of Nina Simone, kinda. She has a sultry, jazzy, unique, but she is quite the performer. Let's start there. And Erica Sutherland, I'm trying to remember what episode I featured her in, but look back at one of the other podcasts. I featured her, filmmaker, producer, director, all of the above, soon to be coming out with her own bourbon.
Yes.
Really, like, again, another opportunity to use the word badass female. So Erica Sutherland and Siobhan Monique. Anyone else?
I had just went to the Studio 620 Healing While Black. They were having a poetry night.
Yes.
I got to see Rebel Poet live. She was pretty dope.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a few other artists too, but I forget their names, but I've known her for quite a while.
Okay.
That was the first time I got to see her
perform. And then music inspires you because, like, it's weird. When you post, you normally are posting with a song, and it could be like old school, or it could be like current hardcore.
Yeah. So
who's one of like the old school artists, and then who's the new school that you're really vibing with these days?
Old school. Britton Wood, as an old school artist, there's a song that he has called "Me and You." That shit slaps. I like that one. And then newer artist Jacob Banks. He's African. He's not African American. He lives in England, I believe.
Jacob Banks.
Yeah. He I always forget. He actually wrote the song for Alicia Keys. I forget the name of the song. Man, what is it? See now.
Right. Nah, that's all right.
I don't remember.
It's where everybody gonna look it up. He wrote a song for Alicia Keys. We're gonna find
more popular songs, but
we're gonna find it.
He's pretty dope. I like his music, but he has kind of like that old school kind of feel to him. But it's like with the newer trap beats and stuff.
Okay, so when you're in here and creating, you got music in your ears.
Oh no, I got
You
like
got
a giant
six.
speaker back
How
there.
how do the other artists respond to hearing loud music?
They definitely
Because
don't
these are
like
not
it. So
private spaces.
yeah, they definitely don't like it. So I try to do it later on at night.
Okay, when you think you're the only one here.
Yeah,
Got
or
it.
the artists that are here, they don't mind. So I'll just be here blasting.
Blasting. So you're like the artist DJ.
Yeah.
Would you ever DJ? Is that something you would do?
Yeah, I do it for the showcases.
Oh.
Yeah, I kind of like to be in control of music because
okay,
people be playing some wild stuff.
Right. And it all has to come together.
Yeah.
What should we expect August 11th?
Definitely taking the psyche or our community's belief system to a different atmosphere. Can't tell you if it's going to be a good atmosphere or a positive one, but I definitely feel like I'm on the right track. I'm telling the right messages. So definitely just an experience of how I view people in the community as being almost deified. So I'll tell you a little bit about one. I have a piece called "The Girl Who Forgot Her Name Was Karma," and that's about a friend of mine. It's just like when they say like, oh, you're woke or you're awake, it's like sometimes you can see the power in other people, but they can't see it in themselves. It's just like getting her to learn more about what karma is so that she can understand her power and how because like what you put out there is going to come back to you in the same way. It's like, and if you're strong, you need to understand how to use
They'll knock you over.
Yeah. So it's just a little bit like using the wigs is like, what do dreadlocks mean for me? It's just antennas is like that natural root, almost like feeling that like it's a bone inside of it. If you touch my hair, it's like stop touching me.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
It's an extension of you. Right. It grows from you.
Yeah.
It's further evidence that you're a living, breathing, growing, organism here experiencing life here on Earth. So we can expect what kind of music are we going to be privy to on that day? And how long is the show for?
I believe the entire month of August.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so at least the remainder of August going into September, or just the rest of August? The 11th, the 11th, and then
the rest of August. Well,
either way, come on opening
night. It would be cool
night.
if I could move the showcase too.
Huh?
It would be cool if I.
Oh, if it could be a traveling showcase.
That would be sick.
But people who buy their work want to pick up their work. They want to like art is like a baby. When you buy it, you're ready to clear space. And don't ever tell me you don't have space for art. Move something in the closet is what I was once told. First of all, this is why I have the art collection I have. So I don't know how I'm planning to live in some trailer someday. I don't know what's going to happen. There might be air conditioned storage bin above the trailer. Let's see this happen. But yeah, you have to appreciate the individualism and the creativity of those who are able to paint the culture. So I wouldn't expect Jabari Reed's work to look like somebody else's work, because the thing is that artists are storytellers. And when they're true to themselves, they're telling the story of this period of time based on their perspective, right? Based on their lived experience, preferably.
Yes.
And so that's when you get to see work like we're seeing with you. So, and these flowers, the blooms. Yeah. What are the blooms? So, like, this piece doesn't look like, is it going to end up with some blooms?
No.
Okay, but then here I am, and there's a lot of blooms.
They're flowers, but before the flower burst open to the bigger one that's right there in the red. So it's just like acknowledging that I haven't, or at that moment I hadn't bloomed yet, and it's like understanding that process is like, oh, that's why the flower looks like that, because it hadn't opened up yet.
And this piece with the pollinators, I see the bees.
It's like finding that the child inside of yourself.
Right. I see in like fading through, but this is he.
Is hello, may I speak to Mr. Wu?
So that's a W. Got you. So it's What does this say right here? That's going around.
Palance. It's Trinidadian word.
Oh, I know.
Yes, that song.
Palance.
Oh my god, I was going crazy on that piece.
Oh wow, you just brought me into. Erica Sutherland said, I spoke to somebody in the city and I told them I want Carnival because Carla wants Carnival. So look, y'all, I am 10 toes down. We bringing Carnival back to St. Petersburg 2024. Every carnival that I'm going to go to this year, I'm going to be sharing with everybody because I want you to appreciate what culture for me is like. So culture for me is 100% soca music and carnival. And because again, I can get the food, but that's culture. And when I moved to St. Petersburg in '96, that was a big thing happening here. And it happened for many years, and then it no longer is. I want to see it back, and I'm joined by many other people that would like to see it back. And who knew Jabari Reed wants to see it? So, and the city took the time to enhance the position of Director of Arts and Culture. So I keep saying, what is the culture behind the culture? So I would like to see Caribbean Carnival, but this will be no different than me advocating to be a Grand Marshal of Pride. I'm going to be advocating hard to see Caribbean Carnival back in St. Petersburg, period, full stop. Thank you for sharing your space with me. I know it's a personal thing for you. So it means a lot that you allowed me to come in this space. I felt like it was important that we have this conversation here in your space, because this is where you create. This is where creativity abounds. Anything that you want to share, anything further you want to share that would be important that came to your spirit while we were talking?
You had mentioned a little bit earlier why artists don't create what they're living or create something outside of what they're living. It's for me, I would say creating a miniature version of the world that I am in to understand it. And sometimes it gets abstracted or boastful to run away in a sense from what the actual issue is. So it's like using metaphors to say one thing but creating a different reality for something else. It's an avoidance.
Oh, point blank. Boom.
It's an avoidance. Yes.
So we're struggling to embrace where we are because maybe sometimes we're not proud of where the environment and but you see so often when other people outside of our community, outside of our culture, takes it and runs with it, and then we buy into it, right? So for me, it's let's own it. Let's buy into it because this is what we have right now. Like, so people crack up. So let me see, Carla, the corporate woman who was the gallerist, who is the farmer. Yes. Yes.
You always want to be one thing.
Right. I could be whomever I want to be as I evolve. And I'm all those things, and that's okay. Right? Yes. But I'm not Thug Mrs. I'm just saying. But if you are Thug Mrs., that's good because that's you. So be you. And if you don't like you, evolve. Period. But artists are historians. I can't say that enough. And historians have to paint history. And when we look back, it would be a shame if this element was missing because nobody wanted to create it because we weren't proud of our story. Right. So thank you for carving your path, and then sharing that, because you can't get more personal than somebody creating artwork, especially that's not trees, plants, and flowers and palm trees. This is personal, and I see that and I feel it, and just keep creating, because you seem to think there's a finite time for the creation. So keep creating and keep evolving, because I know I bought the piece for my daughter's room. And I mean, as a gallerist, you would think I had access to so much art. But when she saw that piece, she immediately lit up. And I bought it for her without her seeing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I hope she loves this. But she immediately felt like, this looks like me. You know, she has like hair like I have. Yes. And so that's why representation is so important. So even though she grew up with all black art, that's the piece that she will find a place for no matter where she goes. I know she will. Beautiful. And I'm glad it's a piece of work from you. And I guess that's the whole connectivity that you have to the culture, to young people and old of all ages, collecting your work. So I hope you have a sold out show. So you won't have nothing to be moving. So no traveling show. You're gonna have to create a traveling show if you want a traveling show. Let's not. We are there to sell art and for people to purchase the work that was created for the show, and thereby raising more money for the studio. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that part. So it's important to create so that the studio continues to be a space for future artists. Any artists that you're mentoring right now?
My little cousin is pretty good.
Oh really? Okay.
He's a beast.
Oh really? How old?
He's 12. So that was like what I was talking about.
Yeah,
like,
you were talking about spending time, but I didn't realize that he was also an artist.
My cousin, she has 3 boys, and it's like he's the oldest, and then the next one is Omari, and then little Sonny. But Yaya, when I had brought out the canvas, it was like one of the size, and I gave him the cans, and he was like, "What do I paint?" I was like, "Just paint whatever you want," because he draws like Demon Slayer characters, like starting off with anime, like how I did. Okay. So I was like, let's give him those tools that I didn't have when I was at that stage. And he just went crazy. He can do like the 2-hand and like mimic both sides. Oh, wow. Almost like that symmetrical.
Oh wow.
I've never seen that before. So it's just being able to see what is running through my lineage or our lineage. And it's like, now that I know how to control it, I can teach other people how to do it. So. And
what better way than to teach your younger cousin. Yes. And by the way, thanks again for doing those sneakers for me. Oh, no Everywhere problem. I go, people are like, "What? I want some." Well, I got them.
Exclusive.
Get yours. Get yours. I got mine. So thank you for being in our city, for being a creator, for listening to the voice that tells you to continue to create. Because some people shut that down, shut it out, and it's easy when you're in is this a 10 by 12? What size is this room? 8 by 12? It's a 10 by 12, I think.
It's like a dorm room.
It's a dorm room.
It's a dorm room.
But thank you for coming out into the world, for continuing to evolve, and for sharing your work with us, so that hopefully we can build younger collectors. That could be an idea even. Like, these 3 pieces are for collectors under 25. And therefore I have this special price to incentivize them to want to own, a piece of art.
That's a great idea.
So yeah, something like that would be just a great, gift, if you will. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I could be sitting here hanging out all day.
Oh, yeah.
So we appreciate you. And we hope that for those of you who are able to listen, that you were able to grab a few bits and bites to chew on as you go and listen to other episodes. Thank you.